Good morning, good morning. Welcome once again to another episode of the XY Spark podcast. This is your boy, your men's life coach, Rolando. Thank you so much for being here with us on another one of our podcasts. We are really happy that you have decided to make the XY Spark podcast your place. We're happy and we're excited that you've decided to come and connect with us morning after morning as we seek to facilitate conversations whereby we normalize men's mental health because we know that mental health is not a myth. And we want to seek to create a safe space where we can continue to have these conversations day after day. Just wanted you guys to know that we are here live on three platforms every weekday morning at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we are on TikTok live. We are on YouTube live, and we're also on the Podbean app. And you can find that at xyspark.podbean.com. Today is a Thursday. The theme or the caption is Transformation Thursday. Transformation Thursday. And today we are going to continue to have conversations that seek to empower men to become the best version of themselves. So, whoever you are, wherever you are situated around the planet, if you are a man, this is your space. And this is your time of the morning. For all our female listeners, all the ladies who have been a part of the XY Spark tribe, we appreciate your presence. Thank you as well for being here and for continuing to share and to comment and to like or podcast episodes. For those who identify as Black, if you're a visible minority in certain places of the planet, I want to send a shout out to you. It's Black History Month. So, a shout out to you if you identify as Black. A shout out to you. It's Black History Month. So, happy Black History Month to you. If you're celebrating a birthday today, I want to say happy birthday to you. Where are you located? If you are joining us live on the podcast, if you are on the Podbean app, if you're on TikTok or on YouTube, please just type in the chat, where are you joining us from? We'd like to send a shout out to you personally. And we also wanted to say thank you for being a part of the XY Spark podcast. This is the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health because we know that mental health is not a myth and men are not immune to being impacted by mental health. And we want to seek to put some pointers out there to empower our men to become the best version of themselves. So today, we want to talk about a very important topic. We want to talk about 6 things that's going to help you to preserve your mental wellness. 6 things that's going to help you to preserve your mental wellness. This past week I was honored and privileged enough to be part of a powerful webinar where we had some amazing speakers and presenters. And one of the presenters that really poured into my life was Dr. Jean Hamday. Dr. Jean Hamday, and I want to send a shout out to you, Dr. Hamday. He's there in Quebec, in Montreal. Powerful speaker. And he poured some pointers into my life in this webinar that I wanted to just share with my audience, with my followers, about some things that we need to do in order to maintain our mental wellness and our mental health. So the information that I'm sharing with you today, I want to credit Dr. Hamday for pouring these thoughts, these facts into my life that resonated so much. I say I needed to bring this to all my listeners, all my followers, and I'd like to hear what you guys think because it makes so much sense. It had such a resonating impact on me. I said I needed to share it with you guys. So the first point that I wanted to share with you guys is that if you are going to preserve your mental wellness and you're going to get back on your feet and you're going to continue to grow, number one thing that you want to do is you want to give yourself time to absorb the blow and recognize what has happened. Give yourself some time to absorb something traumatic might has happened to you. Something that that's emotionally traumatic, something that has really impacted your life, something that has really damaged your psychological or your mental well-being. What we want to learn to do as men is we want to not deny it but recognize what has happened. Did you lose a job? Recognize it. Did you lose a long term relationship? Recognize it. Did you lose a close friend or family member? Recognize it and give yourself time to absorb it. Absorb it, guys, in a healthy way. Don't pretend as if you are not supposed to feel the way you're feeling. Don't pretend that if I express feelings or if I show any sign of weakness, then that's not good for me. No, that's actually what is good for you. So you want to recognize what has happened to you and you want to give yourself time to absorb what has happened. Depending on what you do for work, if you have time to take a couple of days off to grieve, do that. You might not have that luxury, but you have to seek to find another way that you're going to really take the time to absorb the blow because you are human. And as a man, you have to remember to give yourself permission to be human. Sometimes, as men, it's easier for us to give ourselves permission to do everything else, but not to be human. But giving ourselves time to absorb the blow and recognize what has happened to us is an important part of allowing ourselves to be human. And listen, guys, we have to be okay to feel things more. We have to be okay to acknowledge more how things have impacted our lives negatively. So that's the number one thing. Number two thing that we want to do, guys, is we want to recognize what you're already doing so you don't sink any deeper into this space. Recognize what you're doing. Do you find that you're more angry than normal? Do you find that you're overusing or your lifestyle choices are more unhealthy than what they ought to be? Right? And pardon me, there are so many men, guys, that I've met whose storyline is the same. Rolando, I just say, hey, whatever. And he just went on this binge. He went on this, he became a rogue person. And this decision that he made, it continually hurts him and hurts his relationships. But if we are going to heal and if we're going to grow and if we're going to recover from some of the pain and the turmoil and the chaos that we have experienced, we have to recognize what we are already doing so that we don't sink any further into the chaos. So, right now, as you're listening to this podcast, what are some of the things that you're doing in your life right now that you need to take a step back from? What are some of the things that you're doing in your life right now that is harming your relationships? That's harming yourself. Are you harming yourself? Are you doing things that's hurting your psychological, your emotional, and your moral well being? If these are the things that you're doing, it's important for you to pause and recognize what those things are and resort to doing things that are more empowering and healthier. You see, that's the piece. That's important. Guys, I'm not denying, and we can't deny that all of us as men, we do go through sometimes some really harsh realities. Hey, shout out to you. You're joining us live on TikTok. Thanks for being here. This is the XY Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we talk about men's mental health. So if you're joining us live on TikTok, please type in the chat where you're joining us from. We wanted to send a shout out to you. If you're live on YouTube, thank you for being here. Please type in the chat where you're joining us from. We just want to acknowledge you and we just want you to put it on your calendar that every weekday morning at 5:30 a.m. you can join the podcast for men XY Spark where we do continue to have conversations about men's mental health. We also offer live life coaching calls here on the podcast. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, if there's something that really resonates with you and you want to ask some more questions about it to gain some more clarity, please feel free to do so right here, right now. This is your space and this is your time. So, as we talk about the big point number two, which is recognize what you are already doing so you don't sink any deeper, right? So, if you're doing things that are unhealthy and that's harming you or harming your relationships, then you have to recognize it and start practicing to make healthier choices, better choices, choices that's going to heal you and heal your relationships. Big point number three is remember what has already worked for you, right? If it worked for you in the past, don't ignore it. If you realize that, hey, there are some things that I used to do in my life that I'm no longer doing, recognize what those things are and reintroduce those things into your life so that you can start living healthier and more balanced life. Sometimes guys, as men, we ignore some of the basic necessities that's important for preserving our mental health and wellness. We're very good at that because many of us as men, we don't feel we deserve it. We don't live our lives like we deserve it. But I'm saying that practicing proper mental wellness means having what I call a list of non negotiables whereby we seek to live our lives within the context of those non negotiables. So we are not just tossing to and fro in the wind. A man has to really get to know himself. A man has to be able to acknowledge what is working for him. A man has to be able to say, hey, these decisions, these choices are the things that I need to do that's going to keep me healthy and keep me grounded and keep me in the right space emotionally and psychologically. That's important. So if you're a man and you want to preserve your mental health, you have to seek to look at, okay, what are some of the things that I did in the past that was helpful? Let me give you some examples. For example, did I pay more attention to how much sleep I'm getting? Did I pay attention to how many times a week I exercise? Did I pay attention to what my dietary choices were? Did I pay attention to how much boundaries I'm setting in my personal and professional relationships? All these things are important. And oftentimes, what happens to us as men is because we don't take enough time to get to know ourselves why we live our lives in that realm of sort of anything goes, right? But what are your expectations for yourself? Where do you see yourself going a year from now? 3 months from now, a day from now? Are you practicing healthy lifestyle choices? Are you challenging yourself every day to grow and to evolve into becoming the best version of yourselves? And that's why these 6 points that we are sharing here this morning, we are hoping that these 6 points will help you to become more empowered and more grounded. All right. So the third point is remember what has already worked for you and get back on track with that. If it worked already, don't ignore it. Chances are it will work again. You just have to look at how you apply it now and how you're going to make it more consistent. Okay? Big point number 4 is this: reconsider, and this is important, professional or community help. Guys, let's stop running away. Let's stop running away from seeking out supports. Guys, the days for men to run away from seeking professional help, it's gone. It's prehistoric now. As a matter of fact, guys, I want to tell you this. You see, this idea that we have that men don't ask for help and men, listen, it's outdated, man. The expiry date has passed long ago, guys. You and I, we have to recognize that there's a new era where more and more men who are stable and whose mental health is in a good space is needed. Sometimes I watch these little videos of, veterans who return home, all these dads. And when I see how these kids, these husbands, these parents gravitate, they cry, they hug them as if to say, their life was just nothing. There was a huge gap. And now that they're home, they're like, and I'm saying to you guys, the society, the community needs men who are emotionally and psychologically stable. That's what's going to change the landscape of our communities. That's what's going to create more powerful leaders. That's what's going to give our kids the stability that they need. When we have men like you and men like me, who are making attending to their mental health priority, men who are doing it with intentionality, men who are saying, hey, I am tired of fitting or staying within the scope of this unhealthy way of living my life. It's time for us as men to say enough is enough, right? It's time for us to say, hey, who cares what society thinks? Who cares what community thinks? Who cares what culture is sometimes has handed down to us? Who cares about that? If I need help, I need to do what's necessary to help me to be better, to help me to heal, to help me to grow, to help me to be transformed, to help me to change, to help me to be a better father, to help me to be a better brother, to help me to be a better sibling, to help me to be a better employer or employee, to help me to be the best version of myself. And I'm saying, men, that this is only going to happen and these changes are only going to take effect when we start taking the bull by the horn and doing the work that's necessary, doing the work that is not the most attractive or the most sought after work, doing the work that persons will look down on and think, why is he doing that? Why is he not being a man? Why is he, exposing his vulnerability? Why is he not, shutting down? Why is he not in denial? Why isn't he an addict anymore? Why isn't he a drug dealer? Why isn't he, using drugs excessively? Why isn't he a womanizer? Why is he settled? Why is he so confident? Why is he so empowered? Why is he living his life so fulfilling? Why? Why? The why for that is because we want some men now who are tired of staying stuck in the stigma. Aren't you tired of staying stuck in the stigma? I'm tired of staying stuck in the stigma. I don't want to be a part of the stigma. I want to be a part of a tribe of men who are committed to breaking the stigma. What about you, man? You can do it. Come on board. Let's do it together. If you're on TikTok, come on board, guys. Let's do it together. If you're on YouTube, come on board. Let's go. Let's do this, man. We can do this together. And I'm saying, I need more men. I need more youth. You may be in your teens. I need you. You may be in your 20s. I need you. You may be in your 30s. I need you. You may be in your 40s, your 50s, or 60s. I need you. I'm saying we need some men from every era. Whether you're a Gen Xer, a Gen Z, a Gen Y, whether you are coming from whatever era you're coming from, a baby boomer, we need you. And let's together as men create a tribe of men who are ready to step out of the cultural norm, to step out of ignorance, to step out of pride, to step out of shame, to step out of these cages of lack of vulnerability and say, hey, guess what? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I am ready. And I'm looking for some men who are ready to change the landscape. I'm looking for some men who are ready to shove all the cultural rubble, societal rubble, the internal rubble, the psychological rubble. I'm looking for some men who are ready to push these things aside, to kick these things to the curb and say, hey, let's get down to basic. Let's do this. You can do this. Are you ready? I'm ready. If you're ready, type in the chat, I am ready. Type in the chat, let's go. Let's do this. Let XY Spark be the beginning of something empowering and transformative that's going to take men's mental health to the next level. That's going to create some men who are saying, hey, not only am I ready today, but I'm going to stay ready and I'm going to work at it until I get it. So, big point number five is this: stay connected with people who make you feel good. Stay connected with people. Surround yourself with some healthy people, some good associations, right? Don't shut people out who call you out if you're messing up. Those are the people that you need in your life. Don't ignore the people who refuse to cuddle you when you are doing nonsense with your life. Don't ignore the people who are calling you out when you're engaged in some really crappy behaviors. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with. People who are going to say to you, buddy, get it together. Buddy, that's not it. Buddy, you're better than this. Hey, I know you're hurting today. All of us hurt. But I also know that you can heal. You have to give yourself permission to heal. You have to open yourself up to access resources so you can heal. So surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Not people who make you feel good for self-destroying, for self-destructing. Not people who make you feel good for self-harming. Not people who make you feel good for going down the path that are not self-empowering, but people who make you feel good for doing good, right? And my last point is this: get back to what's really important to you. What's important to you? What's important? If you're a father, what's important? If you're a husband, what's important? If you are in a relationship, what's important to you? If you're single, what's important to you? If you're an RCMP officer, what's important? If you're in the military, what's important to you? If you are an only child, what's important to you? If you're a pilot, if you're a lawyer, if you're the CEO of a company, what's important to you? If you are in Africa, or in North America, or in the Caribbean, or in Europe, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, what's important to you? If you're live here right now on TikTok, what's important to you? If you're live on the Podbean app, on the podcast, what's important to you? And all I'm saying is this: get back to what's important to you. If you can't identify anything right now, then guess what? I want to say this one thing to you: you are important, you have value, you have worth, you have a lot to offer. You are a man who has value. And we're here to say to you right now on the podcast of XY Spark that your mental health is your responsibility. I want to challenge you to take the lead and become empowered so that you can become the best version of yourself. So our quote for today is this: denial is the pathway of self-destruction, and acceptance is the pathway of personal transformation. Let me say this again for you guys. Denial is the pathway to self-destruction, and acceptance is the pathway to personal transformation. We are happy, we are glad that you decided to be a part of the XY Spot podcast today. And wherever you have joined us from, we appreciate you. And we continue to remind you that the XY Spark podcast is a podcast for men where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health. And we are here every weekday morning at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And wherever you are around the planet, we invite you to join us live on TikTok, live on YouTube, or live on the podcast, which you'll find at xyspark.podbean.com. In the meantime, until tomorrow morning, we just want to say thank you for being here with us today. But just before you go, we want to remind you that at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. Have a great day, and we will see you again tomorrow morning.